G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad Gridiron Fantasy. I'm Dyl, that's Stu, and that's Matt. We are the Fantasy Bros. We are super excited to announce we've partnered with GameDay Squad this NFL season to bring you all you need to know to succeed in GDS Gridiron in 2026. Today we're going to run through the Fantasy Bros consensus tight end rankings. But before we do, let's go around the grounds. Matt, Stu, welcome to the show. Stu, 1 week of preseason is done and dusted. Did anyone in particular catch your eye?
Yeah, g'day Dyl, g'day Matt, and thanks to everyone for tuning in either live or catching up on YouTube, on Apple or Spotify. Look, I always think that week one of preseason, it's a bit of a tease, isn't it? We might see some of the stars, but they don't play for too long. It's a lot about the rookies for a little bit and plenty of fringe squad players. But for me, it was more of the vets, Josh Allen and his linking up with new recruit DJ Moore in limited game time there for the Buffalo Bills. Allen threw just 8 balls in that match. He completed 6 of them. 4 of them were targeted at DJ Moore. He pulled in 3 catches for 62 yards. And even more impressively, post-game, Allen commented that he's looking forward to getting DJ Moore the ball early and often. We haven't really seen an alpha wide receiver in Buffalo for quite a few years now. So I'm going to be watching that one super closely.
Yeah.
Josh Allen might get DJ Moore into must-play territory at some point this season.
Yeah, I've loved DJ Moore the last couple of years. He probably just hasn't got to where we've expected him in his time the last couple of years. Was a little bit of concern. He had that lower body injury, which happened, and he went off the field. But it looks like he's returned to limited practice at least. So fingers crossed, Allen is good to go week one. Matt, any key takeaways for you, mate, in the first week of preseason?
Yeah, boys, I think for me, it was the 49ers, and I'm really interested to see over the coming weeks how the 49ers progress there with the usage of DeZorn Stribling. Rookie this year, I think he was a 3rd or 4th round draft pick there, and he had 7 catches for 63 yards in a preseason debut, which is a really solid start. And on the back of recent news there that Ricky Pearsall is out for the season, who's going to be that wide receiver 2 at San Fran? Mike Evans struggles to stay healthy. Deebo Samuel was cut last year and now he's returning, and George Kittle's returning here from an Achilles injury. So, no one's really set themselves alight at San Francisco. And we know Mike Evans is a future Hall of Famer, but he's just failed to stay healthy and fit for a full season, right? So massive opportunity there for Stribling. And, I think it's going to be really interesting over the next couple of preseason games how he gets that usage. And for me, I'll be able to see him live in week one. And, we always talk about an eye test, and it's going to be super exciting to actually see a live eye test, right? So hopefully we get a bit more information before week one, and he might be a real lock to your rookie sophomore team.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I posted his stats on the Discord after that happened. And I think that was Discord user RatDog who pointed him out a few weeks ago when some of the things were happening around the 49ers. So, continue to keep an eye on that. Thank you to everyone who is joining us live. It was sort of a late shift to get the live show out tonight, but super pumped to do that for you. We'll be coming to you live throughout the season as well. Every Wednesday night, we'll be breaking down the week ahead for NFL Gridiron. So make sure you have subscribed to the Fantasy Bros YouTube channel so that you don't miss a thing. This preseason, however, we're going to break down our consensus top 10 across each of the positions. You would have seen a couple of posts that we've had already on Instagram around some of those. Plus, we're going to bring you a special rookie sophomore show so that you've got all of the updates around some of the rookies that will be playing, some of the sophomore players that will have a second year breakout for sure. And of course, we've got a massive preseason giveaway that we're going to talk about as well. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to all of our socials: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Throughout the season, we'll be going live. As I said, we'll be bringing plenty of content to you across all of those platforms. Just search at Fantasy Bros AU. The last one, obviously, is the massive preseason textbook that will be coming to you very soon. I think we're set for a September 1st release date, so you've got plenty of time to digest that. Head to fantasybrosau.com to purchase your jam-packed NFL fantasy textbook. We've got plenty of little goodies to go along with that as well, including 2 bonus entries into our preseason giveaway. Alrighty, boys, before we do get into our top 10 consensus ranked tight ends, I just wanted to sort of get your opinions on a couple of players that we're not going to necessarily focus on. And those are some of those players that we ranked outside our top 10, but we think might get into the top 10 potentially or come close. Stu, do you want to kick us off? Who's your one player that might make it into that top 10?
Yeah, look, this player might make it in the top 10. This player might also get his one and only mention on our shows this evening. And that's Chig Okonkwo. Nothing spectacular in Tennessee. Just 56 catches, 560 yards last year, 2 touchdowns. But he does sign with Jaden Daniel. And because the receiving group is pretty poor outside of sort of Terry McLaurin and probably target share as well. I just think that there's real breakout upside. Connection does go the absolute opposite route. And he's just a bit of a blocker and nothing really happens there. But yeah, the new environment though.
Yeah, definitely. Apologies there to anyone. I think Stu, you were cutting in and out a little bit, but I think we get the idea that Chig Okonkwo could go big, or he could be one of those run-of-the-mill tight ends. Matt, who's on your radar in terms of someone maybe a little bit older, definitely potential to get into that top 10 where we've seen him plenty of times before?
Boys, are we disrespecting Dallas Goddard here? I mean, he was a top 5 GDS tight end last year for a points per game average. And I just don't see how his situation's got any worse for him. I mean, for me, he hasn't made the top end for a couple of reasons, but you're not silly if you want to have a look at him on a weekly basis, right? So tight end 5 last year for points per game. And in the offseason, the Eagles moved on from AJ Brown, right? And he was the leading receiver at the Eagles last year and the wide receiver 13. So Jalen Hurts has got to have someone to throw to. I can see a bit of an uptick there for Devontae Smith. Saquon probably getting a few more out of the backfield. But, you know, what we saw last year with the relationship for Goddard and Hurts is that he really targets him there in the red zone. So Hurts had 11 touchdowns last year. And the craziest stat that I read was that AJ Brown and Devontae Smith had 11 combined. We're talking about 2 top 30 wide receivers, and the tight end there has got an equal amount of touchdowns, right? So, look, I think he's aging. I think there might be some changes to how Philly plays as well. I think they go back to running the ball a lot more this year. But, boys, I don't think you're silly if you want to stream Dallas Goddard on a weekly matchup, depending on what defense he's versing.
Yeah, you started that off with who's Hurts going to throw to. He's probably just going to run himself, though, knowing what Hurts is like, to be honest. But, yeah, there's plenty of options, and I do like that Dallas shout. And, in fact, he kind of aligns with the player that I'm really keen to see how he goes, and that's Mark Andrews, another aging player in a position where he's had some dominance over the last few seasons in that role. He's got a really good relationship with Lamar. It's obviously just those string of injuries over the past couple of years that have really held him back. He had that horrible left ankle injury. He had the car accident, and he just hasn't really had that game time that we would expect or would want from our tight end. Look, 2025, he took the field 7 times. Mark Andrews, he played 14 games the previous season. He finished that season with 13 points per game with an average of 4 catches per game and almost 1 touchdown per game. So, look, he is Lamar's favourite target, particularly in that red zone area, commanding almost 25% of the ball. So I still think there's a world where that happens. The elephant in the room is obviously that age. And we have had elite production from 30-plus-year-olds. Goddard, as you said, last year, tight end 5. George Kittle, tight end 2 last season as well. So plenty of opportunity. It's just whether that age is going to catch up to Mark Andrews at all. Alrighty, those are some of our players that we like outside of the 10. Let's jump straight into our top 10 ranked tight ends. Please let us know in the comments as well who you think we've got too high or too low, or anyone we've completely missed. But let's go through our first lot, and we've got our 10 through to 7 ranked tight ends. We've got Isaiah Likely at 10. He's had a move to the Giants. We've got George Kittle at 9, Harold Fannin at 8, and then Sammy Baller at 7. Let's start with Isaiah Likely, tight end for the New York Giants. Matt and I had Likely inside of our top 10. He finished 2026 with 11 games and an average of 5.3 points per game, obviously playing behind that man that I talked about, Mark Andrews. Matt, is it simply that potential of Likely moving to the Giants where you could see him have a massive season, or is there something else that you like about him as well?
Yeah, man, I really think the change of scenery there for Likely is probably the number one reason that I do think he's going to break into that top 10. When we have a look at some of the other names on there in terms of Fanning Jr. and Laporta, they're quite young and younger than Likely, and for them they've had their either rookie or sophomore breakout, and Likely didn't necessarily see that, but he was stuck behind a really good tight end that we just spoke about being Mark Andrews in an offense that didn't necessarily want to throw the ball as well by having Derrick Henry there and Lamar as RB2, right? So on the surface, Likely's production wasn't top 10 worthy last year, but like that situational change for him on both the team and coordinator level, I reckon just raises his rankings alone. Across the 36 targets he had last season, had 27 receptions at an average of 11.4 yards per reception, which is actually pushing up towards that elite status when it comes to yards per reception. And the crazy thing is that was his lowest yards per reception across the last 3 years, where he was averaging 11.4 again and 13 the year before. So for him, achieving first downs is basically like a shovel pass. He likes to see the ball a little bit downfield, and that's great. That's really good for our perspective in terms of getting some yards there as well. So for Likely, the situation that we spoke about is there's a new head coach there at the Giants with Harbaugh, and he was at the Ravens last year and has brought Likely across from Baltimore and paired him with a new OC as well in Matt Nagy. So for those who know Matt Nagy and familiar with the Matt Nagy scheme that he puts together, back in 2018 to 2021, when he was the head coach at Chicago, targeted tight ends at just under 20% for a target share across the whole game, which is pushing some really good numbers. And then Matt Nagy decided to move across to the Chiefs. And who is his number one tight end at the Chiefs? Travis Kelce. So he's had a lot of experience there when it comes to feeding the ball to his tight ends. So I think there's just a really good opportunity here for Isaiah Likely at the Giants with a fresh team and a fresh opportunity to push his case there for some high production.
Yeah, I like that you did. Oh, sorry, Stu. I was just going to say quickly, I like that he did touch on the Chiefs, because we see Matt is wearing the Kelce Swift jersey, I think is on the back there, isn't it? Sorry, Stu, as you were saying, mate.
Yeah, no, I just think it's the change of scenery. You can forget his output in recent years there at Baltimore. He's clearly going to be that tight end one. 3 years, $40 million is pretty handy there for Isaiah Likely. So they're going to use him, and they've got that 3 years of faith in him. So certainly they're going to look his way pretty often. We're hearing some pretty nice camp reports out of the Giants as well, that he's Jackson Dart's most targeted guy already. So there's plenty to like about that new role, and particularly if that combination develops, he might be that little safety blanket there for Jackson Dart.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I'm sort of looking at as well. Last season, Theo Johnson, who was that tight end one at the Giants, he had a 17% target share in that offense, and he turned 5 targets per game into 8.5 GDS points. But it was his red zone target share that I really liked. He was the only player in the side to garner double digits targets in that red zone. Likely steps into that role now, and as you said, Jackson Dart's favourite target is Likely, so I see that he's going to take on a lot of that workload that Theo Johnson had in the red zone in particular. The Giants' strength of season is pretty positive as well for the tight end play. The Giants play Washington twice, the Cardinals, Colts, Rams, Jags, 49ers, and Seahawks. All of those teams are allowing points to tight ends, and they're within the top 10 of points allowed to tight ends this season. So I think there's plenty of upside for Likely. We just have to see that production, because there's a little bit of an unknown still as well. Look, Stu, one bloke you were really high on this season is Harold Fannin Jr. He finished 2026, 16 games in the bag, 11.3 GDS points per game. He had a high of 25, but he did have a low of 4, which I guess is sort of indicative of a lot of tight ends as well. They do have sort of that big floor to ceiling ratio. But for you, why is Fannin potentially inside maybe the top 5, even where you have him ranked currently for the season?
Yeah, I just think there's a lot more for him to offer this season. He played all 16 games last year, which is a massive tick. We want these guys on the field for as long as possible. They can't produce if they're not on the field. So 16 games is a massive a tick in his favour as well. I think the big reason here is David Njoku has now left. So Fannin definitely is that number one tight end there at Cleveland. It's basically got no competition there for targets. The receiving core isn't that good. I think he's going to get plenty of checkdowns as well, which we've seen at times. Again, similar to Isaiah Likely, that little safety blanket there for the quarterback. Not too sure what that quarterback position is going to look like at the moment in Cleveland, whether we're going to see potentially Deshaun Watson. I'm not sure, but I still think Harold Fannin is going to play a big role in this offense. They're likely going to be chasing plenty of points, so therefore throwing the ball plenty of times. I just think he's really reliable. He's durable. He's going to get the ball more frequently. 6 touchdowns last year. Still 4.5, 45.7 yards per game. No David Njoku. I think there's a clear potential for his role expanding.
Boys, I like Fannin Jr. I think he's got a lot of potential, but I'm probably looking at him more from a dynasty perspective, right? And I think he's going to be a great card to get early on and probably a future all-star at some point in his career. But there is some hot trash that's throwing him the ball. And I think 6 touchdowns is probably the highest that he's going to get this year. And there's just going to be a natural regression because the Browns, I think they're going to struggle to even get in the red zone, having a look at some of that preseason work. So I think that's why I had Likely just that little bit higher. But for me, I think Fannin Jr. is still a really good play as a long-term dynasty stash.
Yeah, look, I know it's not a quarterback show, and I know we're talking about tight ends, but we really do have to look at the quarterback play a little bit here because there is a need to get the ball to Fannin for him to be able to score. And currently, yeah, like you said, that Watson versus Sanders for the starting spot, neither are looking good. Last season, out of 42 qualifying quarterbacks with 150 minimum dropbacks, Sanders was ranked 41st in the advanced QB efficiency. He had the worst completion percentage in the competition and threw only 7 touchdowns, but he did have one of the highest percentages for interceptions versus touchdowns. So he had 10 interceptions in those games as well. Watson's last game in the NFL was the 21st of October, 2024. He did that Achilles tendon injury. And I had a look back then, and the headline from that game read, Deshaun Watson tucked the ball under his arm and collapsed without being touched. Some Browns fans cheered. That is the state of the quarterback play in the Browns at the moment. So, yeah, as much as I love Harold Fannin, he had 21.6% target share last season. The Browns have added some receiver depth there as well, and KC Concepcion and Denzel Boston, who I really rate as 2 great rookies coming up. But again, I think it's just going to come down to that quarterback play, and if we actually see the ball coming out, and like you said, 6 touchdowns, I think is a high mark to get to this season for Browns fans. So hopefully none of the coaches in GDS are Browns fans. We would suggest if you are new to NFL, do not follow the Browns at all. Alrighty, boys, just before we move on, is there anyone else you want to touch on briefly there from our list? We've also got George Kittle and Sam Laporta there, or are we happy to move on to our 6 through to 4?
No, nothing from me. I like where they are.
Perfect.
Maybe just a call out to some of the new guys here following the platform. Just watch the team list for week 1. George Kittle's not a lock for week 1 yet.
Definitely.
Something to follow.
Yeah, it's probably good to keep an eye on who actually gets on that plane as well. There might be some reports around that because they are obviously going to travel. I do believe the 49ers are spending a week in Melbourne before the game, whereas the Rams are sort of coming over, landing, playing, and getting straight back on the plane. So, yeah, that'll be interesting in of itself. Okay, let's jump into our 6 through to 4 in our tight ends rankings. And here we get a little bit tighter and a little bit more to talk about. Tucker Kraft at 6. He should be good to go game 1, but there's no certainties as well. So keep an eye on Tucker Kraft there. Kyle Pitts at 5, and then Tyler Warren at 4. For me, the one man that stands out there is Kyle Pitts, and I think we had sort of the biggest difference around where we think Kyle Pitts is going to finish this season. I think for me, he's an absolute boom or bust. He definitely was that in 2025. He played 17 games. He averaged 11.8 points per game. He had 8 games under 10 points, but he had a massive 45-point game where he had 11 receptions, 186 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Matt, you're a lot higher on Kyle Pitts compared to Stu and I, and I know deep down, GameDay Cal will be sitting here listening, hoping that you say some really positive things about his boy Kyle Pitts, because he's been on him since he was drafted. But why do you think Kyle Pitts is going to be a top 5 tight end in 2026?
There's going to be some real positives in this for Cal. We might have to end it with a little bit of controversy there for him, but Stu was just really high then on the target share that Harold Fannin had at the Browns last year at 21%, right? And for Kyle Pitts, he gets a new head coach, and that head coach is Kevin Stefanski, who was the head coach of the Browns last year. So in that Stefanski scheme, a bit of a tongue twister on that one, he targets his tight ends at 21%, and arguably I think Pitts is more experienced than what he's had with Njoku and Fannin previously, and for that reason he's going to probably see a lot more targets and opportunities, given that he is now probably firmly set as that wide receiver 2 or tight end 1, call it, at the Falcons behind Drake London. So the part of it which I don't recall for a long period of time is that the number 1 QB and the number 2 QB are both left-handers, and I think on a larger surface level that actually creates a lot of consistency there for your receivers, who through training drills and practice get to really familiarize themselves with the state of play from a left-handed QB. And I think that's going to be a sneakily good thing when it comes to Kyle Pitts and his ability. He ended last season as the tight end 4 when it came to receptions per game, and tight end 5 for yards per game. And I think in this situation, his head coach is probably better than last year. Arguably his QB play might be a little bit less, but I think he's going to see those opportunities. Unfortunately, the bad news for Cal is going to be that the Falcons are not going to be playing from in front. They're going to be playing from behind every single game. But for us here, when we're looking at high upside, I think that's when Pitts is going to thrive, because they're going to be looking to throw the ball a lot more. The Falcons are, when they're playing from behind every single game.
Yeah, look, we talked about the pretty poor quarterback play there in Cleveland. It doesn't get much better there in Atlanta, though, does it? Michael Penix and Tua turn the ball over. Look, I think a lot of that offense is going to have to run through Bijan Robinson. They're going to need to get that ground game working to sustain drives. We saw how poor Tua was in Miami, just couldn't get a thing going. And he had that a lot of those concussion concerns as well. So, look, that's the downside, really, the quarterback play there. But the upside is they've obviously, committed to Kyle Pitts, another tight end that signed a big deal, 3 years, $54 million. It's the quarterback battle, the quarterback issues that are probably the biggest concern or the red flag. But, yeah, like you said, Matt, he's that established second receiving option. There's no real receiver there behind Drake London, is there? So, look, if that first read on Drake London isn't there, if the defense are trying to double team with Drake London, probably expect Kyle Pitts to be somewhere. If we could get that Tampa Bay Kyle Pitts, he'll be in our team every single week. I just don't think we're going to see a repeat of that, boys. Just quietly, though, he was in my opposition's team in a fantasy draft league, of course, and they got the win over me in that round.
You never forget the ones you lose.
Never.
For sure. Look, boys, the thing for me is I just don't want to get burnt by Pitts again this season. The 10 games under 10 points, it's just so hard to get there. He's not going to produce 45 points every game. We've kind of been playing off his potential since he was drafted as well. We saw what he did in college. He had big raps, and then he comes to the NFL and he's just not quite there. And we've sort of blamed that lack of production on play calling, the coaching staff, the QB play, which I think is probably going to be the big one this season. You touched on it. The Falcons traded for Tua, and there's already some memes out of Penix Jr. pointing at Tua going, you brought him in because he's been so poor already. But I think for me that 2025 blow-up games that Pitts had sort of coincided with Kirk Cousins giving him the ball. Kirk Cousins has moved on. He's over at the Las Vegas Raiders mentoring Mendoza. But look, 10 games with Cousins last season, Pitts had an average of 7.4 targets, 5.6 catches, 60 yards, and he had 4 touchdowns. 9 games with Penix, all of those numbers are down. 6 targets, 4.2 catches, 42 yards, and 1 touchdown across those 9 games. So obviously, if Penix does get the starting role, there is some some doubt and a bit of a lack of relationship potentially there. And who knows what Tua is going to be like. We haven't really seen him with an elite tight end for a while. Sort of Darren Waller a couple of years ago when he had a bit of a stint in Miami, had some good games, but that was about all. So, yeah, I'm just not quite sure about Pitts, and that's why I've just got him outside that top 5. But, I mean, if he plays more like he did with that 45 points against Tampa Bay, if he can play Tampa Bay every week, that'd be unreal. Alrighty. Tyler Warren there as well, I think is going to have a massive season, and he's probably just unfortunate that we've got 3 tight ends that are just that little bit better and a little bit more elite. So let's have a look at our 3 top tight ends. And look, we've got at number 3, we've got Colston Loveland, and it's into his second year at Chicago, and no doubt he's going to have some unreal games this season. He's going to be an absolute smash play for our rookie sophomore competition. He finished 2025, 15 games, 10.6 points per game, had a high of 29. Stu, what is it about Colston that you love, and why is he going to have a massive season?
Yeah, it was the second half of the year breakout, really. He's, pretty ordinary in that first half of the season, but that home stretch and even in the playoffs, he was a standout, and he was absolutely unreal. If we can get that Colston Loveland from week 1, he's going to be an absolute revelation in the rookie competition, but definitely a chance to get a spot in our week-long sides as well. It was that second half of the stretch where he really excelled. DJ Moore is now gone there as well, so that only opens up even more targets, and someone who got involved in the offense toward the back end of the year is only going to get more and more targets moving forward as well. So he's fully locked in as Caleb Williams' guy heading into year 2. We've seen a whole heap of training footage where that connection is absolutely heating up. I think in a few years' time, these two are probably going to be, 2 of the superstars of the league. And let's hope that that continues into this year. I just think he's that big body. He can be used all over the field. He's a really good target in the red zone. I think he's going to get plenty of receptions, and we saw just how good he was in the playoffs as well, despite being a rookie. I'm expecting big things from him, but also Tyler Warren in his second year as well.
Yeah, I think it's that scheme. I feel like a broken record tonight, but that scheme, when it comes to the opportunities that Loveland has, we really look at what the offensive coordinator and what the coach has from a setup piece, right? And here at Chicago, where Loveland's at, he's going into a second season under Ben Johnson. And we touched on Sam Laporta at the start of the show. He had a breakout season in year 1 and the start of year 2 just before he got injured. And that was the primary tight end under a Ben Johnson scheme. So, again, I think the opportunity here for Loveland to touch on, what Stu said, that back end of the season where in his final 2 regular season games and 2 divisional games averaged 16 GDS points, that would put him in a wide receiver 9, wide receiver 8 category on a points per game average, which not only makes him probably a top 2 tight end play, but virtually a flex play as well on a weekly basis. So I think there's absolutely huge upside for Colston Loveland. And if we're talking, from a rarity perspective as well, and something we'll get onto in a few more episodes as well, he might be your primary play when it comes to your rookie sophomores, using quite a high rarity on him because he's going to see a lot of the ball, as Stu said, without DJ Moore there now as well.
Yeah, definitely. Look, boys, this is the only tight end, I think, in our rankings that we actually all agreed on. We all had Loveland at 3. Everyone else, we sort of had a little bit of a difference of opinion by 1 or 2 spots, but Loveland, all of us had him at 3. So I don't think we need to say too much more. I think, as we said, pack him, be happy to roll him out each week, especially in that rookie sophomore competition. And then, as you said, he definitely could be that flex play because we've got those the 5 flex spots. We can sort of mix and match with how we go about that. And I think I could see him definitely being in that side, in that flex most weeks. Alrighty, at 2, we have Trey McBride. 17 games last season, 18.1 PP points per game, averaging 1 touchdown every 2 games. He had a top score of 37 GDS points, but he did have a low of 6, again, attributed to that idea of tight ends, boom or bust sometimes. But there was only 2 games under 10 points. So there's obviously a bit of a flaw there that we can see with McBride. Matt, you had McBride as your number 1 tight end this season. Stu and I were just a little bit lower on him. What are you most excited about with Trey McBride and your Cardinals?
Yeah, look, call it bias, call it hope. There's a wise man, Andy Dufresne, once said, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. And for me, if the Cardinals are going to suck this year, then so is Trey McBride. But I think in all seriousness, when we have a look at their quarterback position, Jacoby Brissett is the quarterback there at the Cardinals. And last year, he had dropbacks at an astronomical rate where he was averaging close to 40 passing attempts per game. So when you're averaging 40 pass attempts, someone's got to catch that ball. And in this situation, it was a combination of Trey McBride and Michael Wilson with a bit of a sprinkle of Harrison Jr. there. Look, the Cardinals have drafted well in the offseason. Yeah. They've gone and got a really good running back who can catch the ball in Jeremiah Love. But McBride's a proven pass catcher. And when you're looking for someone in the red zone, looking for someone on third and fourth down, McBride's going to be the one that they look to, right? So for me, I think it's more the opportunities that McBride is going to see rather than, the potential upside that we have for someone like Brock Bowers, who is that consensus one there. But, all hope for me, both as a Cardinals fan and probably as a GDS supporter, is going to be riding on high upside of Trey McBride there.
Yeah, I think Cosy Possy's mentioned a really nice comment here about doesn't know too much about the NFL. Doesn't know too much about the players, but really excited to get amongst it. And so a bit of advice there for someone like Cosy who doesn't know too much about the NFL. We're looking at guys that are going to get the ball in their hands pretty frequently. If the quarterback's passing them the ball, they're going to get 1 point just for catching it. They might not do too much with it, but all of those catches certainly rack up. And if he's that leading target in a pretty poor offense that's getting 40 or 50 pass attempts per match, when Trey McBride is seeing almost double digits of targets, that's such a handy upside in terms of just points through catches. But he's such a good footballer as well that it's what he does with the ball as well. You mentioned his red zone threat is elite as well. We get 6 points for every touchdown he scores, and his yards. He can get over 100 yards pretty comfortably when things are clicking as well. So Cosy Posse, someone that is a key part of that attack and going to get the ball in their hands pretty frequently. That's a bit of a cheat code, particularly in a position that's pretty hard to fill. So no knock on Trey McBride for me, having him at number 2. I just think Brock Bowers has a little bit more upside this year after a pretty poor, season last year, battling through injury. Still expect Trey McBride to be in my team pretty frequently. No matter who the quarterback is, he's still the focal point of that offense. He's going to be getting plenty of catches.
Yeah, definitely. Look, the big thing is, though, Jacoby Brissett, love him or hate him, they've just paid him $15.5 million for the season. So the Cards are obviously backing the quarterback play there, and it really helps McBride. Brissett loves McBride. We've talked about it already. 14 games together last season. McBride had 7.7 receptions per game from 10-plus targets. So that's, straight away, that's 7-plus points from 10-plus targets before anything else happens with the ball in hand. He then went on to average 77.5 receiving yards, and he caught 10 touchdowns last season with Brissett throwing him the ball. He had 4 games without Brissett throwing him the ball last season. He had 6 receptions per game and just less than 10 targets, only 55 receiving yards, and he only caught 2 touchdowns. It's a 4-game sample size, but we can see the difference is clear that when Brissett's passing him the ball, he is his number 1 target. And look at that, you can see that when you look at the target share. And we're going to talk a lot about percentages of target shares in all of our shows. 27% target share for McBride in 2025 and 33% target share in the red zone, where it really counts in that side. I think that's going to be replicated again this season. We haven't really seen too much excitement from Wilson or Marvin Harrison Jr. really. Wilson probably more excitement in training camp than Harrison Jr. I just can't see a world where there's going to be anyone that's out targeting McBride, and that's why I've got him at number 2. But the only reason, probably the difference, is Brock Bowers and the potential that is at the Raiders and the likelihood of him going to be receiving so many targets. And look, before we do get to Brock Bowers and talk about our love for Brock Bowers and the Las Vegas Raiders, I have it on very good authority. I've just been sent a little bit of a screenshot. We are very close to NFL being released on the platform. We are only a few days away. So I know there's a lot happening in the background, and I know everyone's getting very pumped. but it will be at least a version 1 of the competition. Hopefully will be up on the platform very soon. So boys, get keen. We're going to be opening cards in no time, and we're going to be hoping that we are going to open the number 1 consensus tight end for 2026 from the Las Vegas Raiders. It's Brock Bowers. Look, he had a few less games, as you mentioned, Stu, than other tight ends on our list in 2025 with 12, a couple of injury concerns. He still averaged 14.2 points per game. He had a massive high of 42 against the Jags in the season. And look, he averaged 5.3 receptions per game, which had him leading his team in targets and receptions. Is he just a lock and load every week when he plays and takes the field?
Yeah, I think so. When he's healthy, he's the best tight end in football. I don't think there's any questions about that. We did see him battle through that knee injury last season. He was physically in so much pain, but kept getting back to the line and kept running his routes and copping big hits and limping back and repeating that role over and over and over. Just as a bit of testament to show what type of character he is. He doesn't take that easy option and just leave the field when not only is his team not going well, but he's pretty battered and bruised and nursing that sore knee. That did obviously derail his season late, but I think his fantasy points were down just because he was battling through it. He left the field at multiple times as well, and that's obviously going to be a bit of a hindrance on that average points per game. He says he's fully healthy now heading into a new year. He's got a new head coach that might shine a bit of a different light in terms of how Brock Bowers is used. But look, I think, best tight end in football when he's healthy. We're talking about the guy that broke 2 long-standing rookie records. 63-year-old record he broke for the most receiving yards in a season by a rookie tight end. He also got the most catches in a season by any NFL rookie. So we're talking about a generational talent here. Someone that was injured last year but still put up big numbers. If he's fully healthy, he's only going to grow into that role. And he's just going to become that elite player that we've just got to be searching for his cards and getting him in each and every week.
Yeah, I think the Raiders are quite lucky to have such a tight end like Brock Bowers, right? Like, he is probably going to be next year, once he finishes his rookie contract, the highest paid tight end of all time as well. That upside, as you touched on, Stu, is massive. In his rookie season, 153 targets for just under 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like, that is crazy numbers. And when you add up all of those points per reception and then points for every 10 yards, that's a lot of points. Now, he was a little bit injured there in year 2 and played only 12 games, so 5 less games. But he actually put up more touchdowns, which means that red zone threat that he is now becoming only adds to his value, right? So I think for Bowers, you look at upside play in the red zone, upside when it comes to new coaching, upside when it comes to a new quarterback system as well. They've almost future-proofed Brock Bowers as well by giving him quite a competent quarterback in Kirk Cousins and then giving him a really good rookie in Fernando Mendoza as well. So, look, if you're lucky enough to pack a Brock Bowers diamond, you can hit your boy up here in Matt. We'll make sure we get some good deals there, but he is someone you're just going to want to absolutely stash for the longevity of your GDS career because he's going to be the number 1 tight end for a long, long time.
Yeah, look, boys, I am a Las Vegas Raiders fan, so I'm more than happy to put Brock Bowers as my number 1 because I know the potential that he has. The potential he has is tight end 1, but also wide receiver 1 in the Raiders offense this season. And look, we talk about targets again. He had 24% target share last season. He had 40% share of red zone targets. So 40% of the time they're in the red zone, he is being targeted, which is absolutely unreal. And 27% end zone targets. So even in the end zone, he's being looked at more often than anyone else on the field. That's more than any other tight end in the competition in 2025. So I think that's where the upside lies. The other thing I really like is we already talked about Kirk Cousins and his relationship with Pitts and Kyle Pitts having those massive games last season with Kirk Cousins giving him the ball. Kirk Cousins is at the Las Vegas Raiders. They've given him the nod to start the season ahead of Mendoza at least to start the season. So I have no reason, I have no doubt that Kirk Cousins and Brock Bowers are going to absolutely smash. and the Raiders. They might even come away with a few wins, boys. We're looking pretty good at the moment. Jensen and Brock Bowers combining, I think we're going to have a pretty good season, to be honest. But yeah, I think, like you touched on it, Matt, in terms of the rarities and pulling the diamond. I think an all-star Brock Bowers as well is going to be an elite card to own. So once those all-star packs drop and we are ready to open those, I think it's going to be absolutely massive. Well, boys, we've done it. We've got through our tight ends. Let's take a quick look back at our top 10 tight ends again across the park. At 10, we had Isaiah Likely. At 9, we had George Kittle. At 8, we had Harold Fannin. And at 7, we had Sammy Laporta. Sneaking in just outside of the top 5, we had Tucker Kraft, who probably the only reason I haven't put him higher is just the uncertainty around the injury at the moment. Cole Pitts makes his way into the top 5. Tyler Warren into top 4. Bit unlucky that he didn't make top 3, but there's just some elite company there. At 3, we had Colston Loveland. 2, Trey McBride. And then number 1, Brock Bowers. Boys, we've done it. Thank you very much for an awesome show. Don't forget to get involved in our pre-season giveaway. Everyone watching or listening, just make sure you comment on who you think is going to be the number 1 tight end for 2026. That giveaway is going to have plenty of packs and cards, but it's going to be headlined by the most important card that you want to start your season, and that will be the number 1 Josh Allen All-Star card. So you have been so generous to give that away to one of our subscribers. You just need to make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at FantasyBros AU. If you haven't done so, like and comment on this episode. As I said, who is your number 1 tight end for 2026? Don't forget to go back into our intro video as well. We go through everything there is that you need to know about GDS and Gridiron this season, including the prize pools, including the card rarities and the different competitions you can get involved in. Make sure you comment there as well. Across the preseason, you can get yourself up to 6 entries from our preseason shows. And then, as I touched on at the start, I announced on the intro show, if you purchase the preseason textbook from our website, fantasybrosau.com, you're going to get 2 additional entries into the giveaway. So you do not want to miss that. Just quickly, Rat Dog, a couple of comments here. Bit stiff on Jake Beach, and then the one my favourite is can't believe Taysom Hill didn't make the cut.
Number 11 for me.
He's going to qualify as a quarterback, a tight end, a wide receiver, a running back. I think you just have to give him the flex position. He can just play it all, can't he? Taysom Hill. They're going to need a little bit of help over at the Saints as well. Alrighty, thank you very much, boys. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight for the live show. Thank you to everyone that follows up and comments as well. We really appreciate your support. Make sure you get involved with the giveaway and stay up to date across all of our socials. That's at FantasyBros AU. We'll be back again, as Stu said. We've got wide receivers, we've got running backs, we've got quarterbacks. We've still got to get through our consensus top 10s. Plus, we'll have our 11s to 20 posted on Instagram, and we might do a few little shorts around that. Boys, have a wonderful night. NFL is so close. We can almost taste it. Enjoy the last few weeks of preseason before you say goodbye to your family and friends for the next few months. Have a good night, boys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, boys. Everyone.